Hi everyone, how you doing? I thought I want to try something fun today with a dry dye powder. I'll take you along for the journey. So far I've been doing this layering technique, combination of yarn lasagna slash Swiss roll. So the yarn lasagna in inverted commas, we just fold one layer of yarn on top of another with different dyes in between. With my Swiss roll technique, I've first roll the yarn up into something that kind of resembles a Swiss roll, and then I chuck the dye on top of that. So what I thought I'd try and do today is with dry dye powder is just sprinkle on some dry dye powder and then put the yarn into the dye bath and see what that does. So just a quick recap. Today I'm going to be using this lovely Mohair yarn by African Expressions SA Mills in Port Elizabeth, Cape Town. This is called Love, and it is a chunky yarn, brushed yarn, a bulky weight. It's 100 grams, 200 meters in this skein, and it is comprised of 78% mohair, 13% merino wool, which is superwash, and 9% nylon. Hook size or needle size recommended 5.5 to 6 millimeters. So that's all the specs on this. So I've just unwound the skein, fluffed it up a little bit so it's a little bit wider, or as wide as it's going to get with all its ties and things on. And today I've selected from the Ashford acid dyes. Those are the dyes that I use. It is Ashford dye for all protein fibers. That's what I've been using up until now. Today we're going to use sapphire and shamrock. Sapphire is quite an intense blue. Shamrock can be a very light green, almost aquamarine, depending on its concentration. So let's see how that goes. Let's start with the sapphire. Let me open this tub. These dyes are extremely pigmented and they are very finely milled. I don't know if you can see in there. They tend to just absolutely go everywhere. So let's see what happens. Let's just sprinkle it on. It's definitely doing what I was hoping it would do. It's automatically just sinking straight through the layers. I don't want to put all over because I want some of it to bleed through as it gets wet. I think that's enough of the sapphire. That was just literally 2 pinches, as you could see there. Let's put its lid on. I'm just going to go wash my hands quickly because I definitely don't want any cross-contamination. And now I must get my hands as dry as possible because I don't want to get moisture into my dye. But I think that's going to work really well. It looks like it. Let's see. Make sure the fingers are nice and dry. Let's get the shamrock out here. You see, I always open the tub over the material because even just opening it, it's going to get dye particles moving. So this is the green, this is shamrock. This one I just want in select areas. I'm not going to just haphazardly cover, maybe a little bit more here on this end. So you can see we're just pretty much winging it here. You see that's a really intense green when it is concentrated. As I said, if you use it very sparingly, you're going to get almost just a very light aquamarine. So let's just go rinse this off. I'm going to keep the glove on because I have another skein that I want to do, and this is my last glove. So now the plan is to roll this one up with the die inside, as you can see. There we go, pat it down, and that's just going to go like that into the dye bath. Now this is a reused dye bath from yesterday. You might have seen the video out this morning. So in there is already some citric acid. Just get a damp cloth and wipe the surface here. Because definitely this dye, you can actually see, perhaps, no, you're not going to see on my cloth, but take my word for it, just that little bit of sprinkling, even though it didn't go through the yarn the whole way, my whole counter is covered in dye. So if you do plan on using Ashford dyes or any kind of dry dye powder, just bear in mind they go everywhere. Some dyers actually cover their counters with plastic, some with a wet cloth to catch any dye particles that go around, because now in your next project you're going to have dye everywhere. So let's rinse out this cloth here. Let's take another cloth, wipe the surface again. Check. Yep. Take a dry cloth. There we go, that should do. Of course, we want to do another one. This one I'm not going to roll. This one I'm going to fold. So just get it prepped, fluff it out. And it's been in a package, in a box. So the fibers tend to be a little bit squashed, and especially this mohair yarn, I want to give it as much chance as possible. Here where the tie is, just loosen it a little bit more, so it's a little bit more fluffed out. There we go. I'm going to try and keep the tie in the middle more or less for whatever reason. I don't know why. I said we're making this up as we go. Again, just fluff it out. You might hear some strange background sounds. I've got the washing machine going, the fan was in the other room. Good, okay. I think that should do. Let's see what color should we use for this one? We've done sapphire and shamrock. Shall we do... I know, let's do fuchsia and gold. That's always a nice combination. Gold and fuchsia. Let's put the gold on first. Let's put that over the yarn here. Should actually not be too close to that. So what I'm going to do is put the lid on there. I don't want to get any dye in there. And let's get some gold going here. I said this one I'm going to do more of a fold. So I think I will only do dye on this half. And then let's see what happens as it gets wet and bleeds through. So I might do just actually a little bit more than I would usually do. Now the gold you might not see because it is it's got a completely different texture the way it's milled. But you might be able to see here on my fingers, it definitely is gold. Nice yellow gold. Let's close that off. Go wash my fingers. Give them a bit of a dry. You'll see if you buy these Ashford dyes, I suppose all dyes are similar. They're packed by weight. And because some of them have a coarser material or a finer grind or different composition, you might wonder why are these tubs so large. I've had some of the dyes like the black and the very dark purples. When I opened the tub, they were less than half full. But it's 100 grams. And the yellow and the gold, for instance, the yellow was almost full to the top. So they're not packed volumetrically, they're packed by weight. Because that's how we use it per grams of material. And they recommend 1 gram per 100 grams of dry fiber. So I have 100 grams of dry fiber here. And I'm trying to not exceed 1 gram. A few pinches should not be more than that, although I've also found with this fluffy yarn there's a lot more surface area because of the fibers. But again, it's only 200 meters of yarn. Oh, as you can see, that's a extremely rich color. What did I choose here? Fuchsia, I think. Yes. I'm going to do 2 pinches of the fuchsia. Let's go wash my hands. Pat them off a little bit. Dry. It's the thing on this granite countertop, you're definitely not going to see any yarn bleeding. Okay, so this one, the plan is, you already see the color on my hands here, to fold. So very gently, I'm going to fold that in half. And we're going to fold that over there. And fold that over there. Now let's get that into the dye bath. If you've ever used this yarn It is amazing. It's like working with candy floss. I'll move the camera closer in a moment. Oh, maybe I should wipe down the counter before I do that. Where's my cloth here? Definitely not as much as there was with the blue, but there will be pigment. There we go. Okay, I'm going to get you moved a bit closer here. Let's hope the camera doesn't fall off my makeshift stand. It should do. What was I saying? Oh yes, how it's almost like a candy floss. So I'm not going to pat that too much more. Give that another light pat. I'll come and do it some more in a moment. I'm going to pick you up off here, you around, and then going to have a look a little bit closer. Let's see. Okay, so this was the shamrock and sapphire. As you can see, it's already starting to bleed through, which is what I want. Nothing in the liquid yet, but there will as time goes by. I think because of the acid content, it should strike a little bit quicker. Here we can see a little bit of the fuchsia and already starting to show through. You can definitely see it here on my fingers, the fuchsia. So I will keep you updated as this progresses. You can definitely see the more greeny blue tinge there and the warmer colors on this one. So it should be quite interesting as they start wicking in the moisture.